Trying to figure out the cost of travel to Thailand? Here's a breakdown of everything you're going to need to know. Hi guys, Chris from Stoked for Travel here. Welcome back to the channel. Now before I get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any video goodness. Now today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite countries on the planet to travel around, Thailand. Now this beautiful country in Southeast Asia has everything from ancient temples and bustling cities through to stunning island paradises. And if you're trying to figure out the cost to travel to Thailand, we're going to be running through a complete breakdown of everything you need to budget into your itinerary. From sleeper buses and ferries through to accommodation, street food, restaurants, and of course the top activities to do in Thailand. So yeah, let's jump straight in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk through is accommodation costs. Now, when figuring out the cost of travel to Thailand, like anywhere else in the planet, your accommodation costs are going to take up a huge part of your budget. Now, luckily, Thailand caters for all kinds of standards, comfort levels, and of course, budgets, ranging from shared hostel rooms right through to 5-star luxury resorts and everything in between. I've stayed in hostels from about £3 a night, such as Little Bird Guest House in Chiang Mai, right through to Chadar Resort in Koh Lanta, which was about £180 a night when I wanted to treat myself and have a bit of relaxation. So yeah, in terms of average cost, between about £5 and £8 a night for a shared hostel dorm, about £8 to £10 a night for a private room in one of those hostels. Guest houses from about £10 to £15 a night, and if you do want to stay in hotels, it's kind of £25 plus. Obviously, the sky's the limit. Sites such as booking.com are great for figuring out depending on your own personal budget as well. So basically, just take your kind of budget allowance and divide it between the amount of time you have there. If you do want to go for cheap, about £250 a month is going to get you some pretty nice hostels for a month's worth of travel in Thailand. But yeah, accommodation costs vary and you can really tailor to your own budget. Next up is food, and this is personally one of the reasons I head back to Thailand again and again. I just can't get enough of the food there, especially a good massaman curry. Thailand does also cater for a huge range of tastes as well, whether you're looking for Western dishes or traditional local cuisine. Thailand has something for everyone, and all the spots you head to are going to have a good range of options. In terms of food, street food is the way to go, especially if you're traveling on a budget. It's going to be the most economical way to eat and also the most tasty too. You can't beat a good pad thai of a street vendor. The little old ladies at the end of Koh Sam Road serve up some of the best pad thais I've had anywhere in Thailand. In terms of street food, expect to pay about £1 to £2 per meal. It's definitely the cheapest way to eat. If you go out to a restaurant, like a local Thai restaurant, a local meal is going to set you back about £2 to £3 a meal. And a Western dish in those same kind of Thai restaurants is going to be about £3.50 to about £6 per meal. Obviously, you can go all out and eat in more fancy restaurants and completely blow that budget out of the water. But those are kind of the general costs if you're keeping things a bit more budget friendly. And the other big cost is obviously going to be alcohol as well. Now, if you go to a 7-Eleven, you can get a large Chang, which is their local beer, for about £1 a bottle. And that same bottle in a restaurant, whether a local one or a fancy one, will cost you about £2.25 for a large Chang. In terms of going out, places like Full Moon Party and buckets, they do vary in price. Expect to pay about £3 to £5 for a bucket at Full Moon, but they are really strong, so be careful with that. In terms of food and drinks costs, those are your main breakdowns. Next up is transport costs, and you'll be stoked to find out in terms of the cost of traveling to Thailand, your transport isn't going to be a huge part of it. And getting around on tuk-tuks, sleeper trains, sleeper buses, ferries, and internal flights is not going to add up too quickly. So you can cover a lot of ground for not too much money. In terms of the average kind of month-long travel spree through Thailand, based on kind of my average itinerary, which is Bangkok down to Phuket, across to Phi Phi Island, across to Riley from there, then to the other side of the country to spots like Koh Tao, Koh Phangan, Koh Samui, then an internal flight up to Chiang Mai in the north for some jungle fun, and then an overnight sleeper train down to Bangkok to finish things off. And now that trip, including all your overnight buses, ferries, tuk-tuks and taxis, will set you back about £160 to £180, depending on the class of travel you want. With the overnight buses and sleeper trains, you do have the option of upgrading for a bit more luxury and comfort. But yeah, in terms of transport costs, about £160 to £180 should cover you quite nicely. And if you are going for a shorter or a longer trip or a different kind of itinerary, check out the link in the description below to my full breakdown of transport costs around Thailand. Now, of course, the other major cost when traveling Thailand is going to be your activities. Now, Thailand is full of some incredible things to see and do, whether you want to do scuba diving, your island hopping, jungle trekking, or you just want to get into amongst the culture with things like temples and, of course, the Thai palace as well. Obviously, you can go hugely over budget with this if you've got a lot of things you want to pack in, or you can keep things nice and budget if you just want to wander around and just immerse yourself in local life. Now, in terms of the top things to do whilst traveling in Thailand, things like an open water dive course on Koh Tao is super popular, especially if you're traveling for the first time. It's one of the cheapest places in the world to pick up your PADI open water ticket. Your day trips will set you around about £10 a pop, and your cultural entrance fee is about £5 to £10 per entrance for things like temples and stuff like that. Now, for the average traveller, for over the cost of a month, including your open water dive course, I reckon about £600 is going to comfortably cover a lot of your day trips, especially if you keep them within that £10 budget. And that will cover you for things like island hopping trips, walking tours, floating markets, and things like that. Again, if you want to check out the top bucket list items to do in Thailand, check out the link in the description below, and you can plan your itinerary and budget accordingly. And now for the big question, what were the overall costs to travel Thailand? Well, if you are traveling on a bit of a more budget backpacker spend, I recommend about £1,200 should cover you quite nicely, which works out just shy of £40 a day. Now, this will cover your nights in hostel accommodation, a mixture of Western and local Thai dishes, a bit of drinking, and of course your open water dive course and a heap of activities as well. Obviously, you can go massively above that budget if you smash it out and stay in like hotels, eat in fancy restaurants and drink a lot. Or of course, you can keep things cheaper if you don't want to do your dive course, you just want to do cheaper tours, or you just want to spend a little less time traveling Thailand. But yeah, about that 1,200 is going to keep you nice and sweet. It's one of the best places to travel in Southeast Asia, so don't rush your time through it, take it all in and see all the sights and sounds that Thailand has to offer. And there you have it, guys. That's my full guide to the cost of traveling Thailand and a breakdown of all your major spends. Now, of course, if you want to check out things in a bit more detail, make sure you check out the links in the description below to all my Thailand guides. Includes the budget breakdown, itineraries, bucket list items, and more. And of course, check out the rest of my YouTube channel for some more inspiration for traveling around the world and Southeast Asia and Thailand. That's it for this week, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.